King here, back with another video. It's been a little while since we've done a market video. We are towards the end of October now, just a couple of weeks away from Worlds. We're going to be looking at the market for Bright Lights at the moment, and we'll be looking at some other bits here. But Bright Lights is quite an interesting set, really. I think everyone's been exposed to it. It's actually the first Flesh and Blood set I haven't opened any of. I opened up 6 packs, and that was it. Usually I get cases and open and stuff like that, but the delayed shipments I had actually with my product due to distribution problems here in the UK. I know that people had problems elsewhere as well, but Asmodee aren't absolutely, they're not good at all. So we kind of had issues with that in terms of delays and stuff. But I'm actually kind of glad that I didn't en masse open up cases for singles, because the singles market is pretty low. From hearing quite a few friends of mine that opened up cases where they lost a significant amount of money on the singles because it has crashed. I am fortunate that I wasn't in that kind of way. But really, I think it kind of makes sense when you look at the fact that it is just a mech set. That's what it is, really. Obviously, we had a couple of reprints here, which we're going to obviously start off with, the Fiendel Spring Tunic here, which we're going to have a look at. So, as you can see, the graph here, obviously, you had the pre-order price as well, and you had from the pre-releases and stuff like that. People were getting a little bit of product early, and people were trying to sell at these kind of prices. It dropped all the way down 95, then it went up to about 107, and now it has pretty much, I would imagine, bottomed at 80 euros. I've got an old Cardmarket account, so I am still using euros, not pounds. But I do know that quite a lot of the viewers here are actually going to be in Europe, so it might benefit them a little better. Now, if we do actually look at the cheapest from the UK is Sealight Games. They pretty much are the biggest single seller on Cardmarket. They generally have everything. But you got obviously quite a lot of other stores on here, all through Europe and that, all through all the European countries. And you do have other UK listens as such. But yeah, this is pretty much the price. We had the lowest at 76 here, which I don't think is going to show on here. But yeah, as you can see, it really has bottomed out. And that was, one of the cards that people were really wanting. Obviously, this is kind of what happens when you reprint some of these legendaries. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. The Fiendel Spring Tree is not a bad thing at all, because it means the players can actually, in fact, get a cheaper version. So if we look at the most expensive cards in this set, we've got the Tech Leves and the Mecro Patent Marvel. There's 14 listings of this, starting from 427 euros. There is no UK listings in here at all, which makes sense. There's no sales data because it probably really isn't selling. I like that they have this flip side. Again, these high rarity marvels, where they are extremely hard to pull and generally just don't see many copies, they don't shift that often, honestly. And with Cardmarket, you kind of need to have enough data for them to be able to kind of track that. I don't know about TCG Player. Next, of course, you got the Fabled, which is criminally cheap at 140 euros, and it's not selling at all. I think it's a horrible Fable. I think it's the worst one we've ever had. It's not a bad card in terms of looks, but to be Fabled, the highest rarity in the set, considering where we went from with the gems, we had, Caution, we had the Great Library of Solana. I really feel like we've dropped off since, and nothing really has come close. The Lightest Soul isn't as amazing. The Blood of Drakai, and all the other ones, I don't think are special. I really think what they've been doing, the Fableds, since Fab 2.0, it's not it, honestly. It's not it for me. But that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, I mean, these are not selling at all. I mean, the last one sold 9 days ago, but there is not many sales for this at all. People don't want it. You probably can get this cheaper, probably in the Discord and stuff. Next, we've got the HyperX 3 extended out cold foil, and that we're literally dropping down now to 60 euros, which is ridiculous. So if you're thinking you're opening up cases of this, even the legendaries. The fact that legendaries have become so cheap in Flesh and Blood is great for players, but we've kind of got a system now where there's not enough people opening up product in the UK, at least anyway. I can't speak for the rest of the world, but there's not enough people opening up product in the UK now. So singles aren't expensive, you just can't get them. And this is a big problem. We had such a way of it really for so long, where we had loads of product being open, but people complaining that cards were too expensive. There was too many collectors, not enough product out there. People were charging too much, Collectors and investors were bad, players were good, players are the only thing you need in a card game. And I've made videos on this before, and I've talked about the gatekeeping that happened within Flesh and Blood, because it definitely happened. And now we've got the flip side of that now. And it's kind of like you can't have your cake and eat it sort of thing, where there is very minimal supply of a lot of these cards. And I'm seeing people constantly ask, I get people DMing me and messaging me now asking, I don't sell Bright Light singles. I might in future if the EV is actually better. I know Playset Soho did a video recently about the EV, and Bright Light supposedly looks like one of the best EVs, but I don't know the data myself. Obviously, I trust his data. He's very good at what he does. He's probably one of the best, I think, honestly, that does that. But even himself admitted that he was burnt on Bright Light. So the EV in general in Flesh and Blood isn't very good at all. If you look at it, it's quite bad actually. Compared to some TCGs, not every TCG has got great EVs, don't get me wrong. But this definitely feels one of the worst, for sure. But we've kind of got this gradual thing where not enough product is being opened now, because there's less collectors perhaps right now buying and opening. Stores, there aren't that many big stores in the UK that are opening up product all the time and selling singles. So now we've got, the demand is there, but the supply isn't. So the cards not necessarily are too overpriced, it's just you can't get them, which is a really weird kind of limbo period, honestly. And it probably feels the opposite to what we had before. And I think part of this, honestly, and I've said this before in the past, I'm going to continue saying it again until it gets changed. The decision by LSS to only allow brick and mortar stores to buy product was a bad move. I feel like they could have gone about it doing it similar ways, where my personal opinion would have been brick and mortar get it at the price they get it now. Online stores have to pay a little bit more. Brick and mortar also get buy box promos. We used to have buy box promos, and I know they brought it back recently. I think we've got it with these new Halloween promos that we got. But give the incentives to people to go down to their LGS and buy. They get it at a cheaper price, which means if they sell it for the same price as the online stores, they can make a good margin. Again, because they've got more overheads. I understand this. But the fact now that we've got a system where only LGS can buy it, product is sitting at distro, and it's just, not selling. Product is sitting at stores and it isn't selling. Because a lot of these stores don't sell singles. Like, majority of the stores that will sell and stock Flesh and Blood won't sell singles. It is quite rare to find an LGS that has a plentiful supply of singles in general for any card game. But specifically for Flesh and Blood, I personally have never seen a card store that had Flesh and Blood singles. I've seen plenty that sell packs and sell decks, but they don't sell singles. They might sell Magic singles or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon, and even One Piece. Some of them will sell One Piece now, which is, a rising star, and I've talked about this on the channel before, and I will be making more content on that. But yeah, we've just kind of got of a weird place right now, especially in the UK. The game's definitely growing for sure, because every event, the amount of players there is, the more people showing up for these events. There's more events than ever, which is absolutely great. So the game's definitely not. It's not. I wouldn't say it's necessarily very stagnant compared to some games right now, because we are in a kind of a bottomed low right now for TCGs in general. And I think Flesh and Blood is doing quite well compared to some TCGs right now. I think the fact that they don't release like 1 billion products all the time kind of helps. But Bright Light's definitely isn't it, for sure. Bright Light's definitely, and I don't know, when I look back at sets and I go, well, do you know what, these sets can cook. You know, Everfest, I think, honestly, has been enjoyed more since the set came out. Obviously, we've got Living Legend format coming out, and I mean, Starvo's going to do just absolute bits in there. But there's so many Majestics that have got good value in Everfest, honestly. And I feel like people can look back at Everfest now. And I mean, I opened about 10 cases on release, and I enjoyed the set, but I did get fatigued a little bit. And I feel like, you know, Everfest is extremely cheap still, very cheap still. And I think Everfest is a great opening experience. Honestly, it was the first time we got paper packs. The boxes look great. The packs look great. There is so many good singles in the set. I would encourage people to open up more of that for sure. But when I look at some sets like Dynasty, Uprising, you know, those kind of sets, even Dusk Till Dawn. When I say, I'm not saying these sets didn't do well at launch and they're not great sets, but long term, I feel like they can cook. I look at Bright Lights and I think, unless, you know, mech's going to be like absolutely massive for years and years to come, and we're going to get more, you know, mech heroes that can work and more support or whatever, which we probably will do. But this was a mech set. I just don't feel like it's honestly. You know, that's my personal opinion, of course. But from the consensus that I've spoken to quite a lot of people, generally they didn't enjoy it as much either. And you look at the prices of these cards. Yeah, we're down to, on the first page, we're down to 28. And look at the supply on these cards as well. None of these are triple digits, bar until we get to the Teclo Foundry Heart, which is, you know, a reprint. But none of these are triple digits, which I would think this early after a set being released, you would have absolutely stocks of these cards on Cardmarket, but you don't. So if we look at the Teclo Foundry Heart now, yeah, €32 for a legendary. Obviously, it's a non-foil. It was a good reprint. We'll have a look at the rainbow foil because I don't think it got affected as much as the Tunic did, for instance. But 1 day average is about €30. So if we look at the Teclo Foundry Heart from Arc, what have I spelled that wrong? Oh, I've spelled, yeah. There we go. Okay, well, it's crashed in. So the last time I looked at it, it kind of, I felt like it had sort of bottomed, but no, it's gone down even lower. Most of these are sellers in Germany. So Nosy Ferret, which I've seen on the Discords, 110, but the European sellers have just absolutely undercutting each other. And we've gone down to 85, which is mad, honestly, for a legendary from the second Flesh and Blood set. I know it's rainbow foil, but how often is Arcane Rising being opened right now? There's 46 copies on here. But how often is Arcane Rising being opened? You know, in the UK and Europe, you barely see product now. I mean, boxes are, what are boxes? Is it gonna, let's have a look what boxes are. €130. I know Seho does a lot of videos on prices for boxes and stuff like that. So I'll have a link in the description below to his channel because he's honestly one of the best Flesh and Blood content creators out there. There's one from a zero feedback here, which is a bit sus. 117. But then it's, again, all the German sellers and that. But you got, you know, 130. There's not that many at that. And then it's just going up to the 140s, 150s. Not that much is being opened. So, and again, it's one legendary per case. So to get a case, you're looking at €500. And, you know, these legendaries are 85. It's just mad for me. Yeah, a case is there. €460 there. So you can get a guaranteed legendary. But yeah, it's mad. There's not probably that too much to go into on Bright Lights. I mean, what are boxes right now? Boxes are, so they are actually on the rise a little bit now, which is probably a good thing. €71. Jeez, probably a good time to buy but it is still yeah. So some of these sellers just say if you do buy 4, you do get a sealed case, which is good. But yeah, it's mad. I don't know. I've always looked at the comments thing, but Went out to 85 euros. I saw that was that was a random sale. Again, with Cardmarket, it's a little bit hard to kind of track this data because, especially with some of the singles as well, you can see a rise, but it could be a graded copy. It could be a graded copy of that card. So, interesting. But yeah, we'll have a look at the rest of the Tunics since we haven't kind of looked at them for a little while. So that again would have been a graded. That's a graded copy. I believe I saw that sell. Yeah. So 171, 185. I know I picked up a copy myself for 140 euro, 140 quid. Let's have a look at the other versions here. Crucible of War is 104 euros. History Black White Label Whiteboard is 118. Again, there's not that much supply of that. First edition Crucible of War 240. I think that's really, there's not enough. When was the last one sold? Yeah, last one sold was, back in, what's that, May. It'd be interesting to see. Yeah, this 81 euros. Jeez. Yeah, I've got a copy on there for 119, which at the time of listing was the cheapest bar Ravnak. But Signalite Games, again, fair enough, they undercut everyone, to be honest, which is the name of the game, really. Honestly, I think that's how you got to do it. But yeah, it's just interesting, honestly. As I said, Bright Lights is an interesting set. Yeah, I'll be interested to look at. I know that supply of Dynasty and Uprising is not that high. 83 boxes, 69.99. That's pretty cheap. Probably not going to be any UK sellers. 100 euros for UK. The UK is, it's a really wild place to be. It's a really wild place to be for Flesh and Blood right now because Uprising is. Is there any UK sellers in here? No. Yeah. There's not really any UK sellers. The UK market, honestly, as I said before, it's a strange place. For sure, there's an absolute lack of supply. In the UK for singles and products in general, honestly. So you can see these prices. Everfest first edition case, 240 euros. Yeah, I mean that's cheap. I know cases are cheaper than that actually. You can pick those up cheaper for sure. But yeah, it's absolutely mad. I know I picked up a case of Monarch Unlimited for £150, which I will be opening up at some point soon. So we'll kind of do a video of that if we can make our money back from a case of Monarch Unlimited. It's dubious if we can do that. I don't know if we look at the actual set, it'll be interesting to see. I don't think that's gonna come up if we put, because the EV is quite low, and yeah, Monarch Unlimited singles. I actually haven't looked at this. I mean, Monarch could do really well when Living Legends format comes out because then you've got all those heroes you can use. But yeah, I mean, if you don't get the Fabled, which is going to be extremely hard to pull, you're going to get a legendary per case. You really need to get Phantasmal Footsteps or Carrion Husk. Valiant Dynamo at push, and everything else is just 14 euro legendaries. Mad. It shouldn't be this cheap for one per case. I'm sorry. I know some people aren't going to like listen to that or hear that even. Sorry, but a one per case kind of pull should not be this cheap, whether it's playable or not. But I guess that shows the supply. There's a big supply of this. I mean, how many are actually in the UK? Be interested to see how many are actually in the UK. Shame it doesn't tell me a number, but that's not that many copies. 20 euros is the cheapest. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't take that much really to buy the whole of the UK out of these. There's only one person selling more than one, and then 37 euros, a couple of €100, if that, €200, you could buy all of them on it. Not that you'd want to. I'm not saying you should do that, but that's bad when that could be a possibility. Whereas if you're in the rest of Europe, for instance, or if you're in America on TCG Player, there's hundreds of copies of these cards. I just think it's a bit weird that the supply is very low right now in the UK. If you are watching and you are in the UK, please comment below kind of what your thoughts are. I generally spend a lot of time in the Discord and the Facebook groups, and I don't always contribute. I generally just listen just to kind of see what the consensus is. And I talk to a lot of players to kind of see how, what their thoughts are right now. I know my LGS, they still stock Flesh and Blood, but they didn't do a pre-release for Bright Lights, which was the first time they didn't do a pre-release for any Flesh and Blood set since they started carrying Flesh and Blood, which was at the start when it came to the UK. That for me was a worrying sign because I know they have quite a healthy Flesh and Blood community there and player base, but for them, they just said it wasn't going to be busy enough. There's not enough players still playing now for them to be able to do a pre-release event, which was a shame. Generally, pre-release events are on the weekends, so I can't attend them. The same for Pokemon ones as well, which I always want to attend, and I promise somebody I will attend a pre-release event at some point. But they generally are always on the weekend, and I'm always working then. But that'll be changing very soon. I'm a week away now from dropping down to part-time, so I'll be making as much content as I can. We're going to hopefully be doing a lot more regularly stuff. I started doing like voiceovers. I went to the Bandai store that I uploaded a short on here and then the reel on Instagram. So we're definitely going to be doing a lot more content, and I kind of want to do a variety of content. I've got a lot planned for Worlds and for events beyond. I'm going to interview some players, interview some collectors as well as investors, and kind of get that kind of knowledge on the channel, which is what I want. I want to document this and document as much of this as well, because when the game's going on its 10th year, I want to be able to look at these times, and when people were talking about a Tunic at €80 or Teclo Foundry Heart at €30, for instance, those kind of pinpointed events really, which I think is so important, because when we look at those events, we don't always have them in our memory, and we kind of forget. We forget how cheap Fab was at some point and how expensive it was as well. And just where TCGs are in general right now, I think 2023 is definitely a bad year for TCGs. I think the delay from the pandemics and stuff, where people were booming in TCGs, it's been a bit of a delay. I know we had a drop off in 21 and 2022, but I feel like this year definitely has been a big drop off. But TCGs like One Piece are doing absolutely amazing right now. Prices for those are going absolutely out the window. So we know that the faith in TCGs is still there, as we do see with all these sales and all these events that are getting bigger every single year. But we're going to be trying to do as much as we can. But please comment, like, and subscribe. As always, really appreciate that. Hit that bell for notifications. We're going to hope to get to 2 to 3 videos a week, potentially ramp that up. We will have YouTube lives as well coming up soon. The first YouTube live will be a Crucible of War first edition box opening. It will be it'll be a box break. So once all the packs sell, that's when we'll decide to plan to open it. I'll be posting at some point on probably a video on here and on my Instagram, and then some in the Facebook groups as well and Discords about kind of when we're going to be doing that, because I need to organize the price and stuff. But as I said, yeah, thank you all for watching. Please comment, subscribe, and have a great day.